After Queen Elizabeth II's state funeral at Westminster Abbey, attended by world leaders, Windsor was where the royal family bade farewell to the Queen, a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, when her coffin was lowered into the royal vault. A lone piper played a lament, the sound of which faded into the distance as he retreated. While the Queen's coffin was being lowered into the vault, the Dean of Windsor said a psalm, before the Garter King of the Arms pronounced the styles and titles of the Queen. This concluded the public ceremonies devoted to her. Now the question that lingers in many people's mind is, why was the Queen not buried in the royal vault even though we all saw her coffin being lowered into it? To start it off, we will begin by providing answers to the question, what is the royal vault, where is it, who is buried in it? Remember to support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Now let's start. So, what is the royal vault, and where is it located? The royal vault is a burial chamber deep below the altar of St. George's Chapel, within the grounds of Windsor Castle. The vault is approximately 5 meters below the ground. The vault itself is a stone-lined chamber, 21 meters long and 8 meters wide. The entrance is closed off by an iron gate. Within the chamber, there is enough space to hold 44 bodies. 32 coffins are arranged on shelves built into the stone walls, while the remaining 12 are in the center of the vault. During funerals, a slab of flooring in St. George's Chapel is lifted out to provide access to the underground vault. The coffin is then lowered through the hole in the floor via an electric lift. Once the lift reaches the bottom of the shaft, the coffin is manually moved down a corridor into the vault, before being interred either on one of the shelves or the central plinth. King George III ordered the royal vault to be built in 1804, and construction was completed in 1810. He became the first British king to be interred in the vault following his death in 1820. Now the next question. Who is buried in the royal vault? St. George's Chapel has been the chosen burial place for the royal family since the 15th century. Included amongst the royals who have been buried there are Henry VIII, Charles I, and Edward VII. The vault serves partially as a permanent resting place, while some royals have been housed there on a temporary basis before being moved to a final resting ground elsewhere, as will be the case with Prince Philip, the Queen's husband. Currently, there are 25 members of the royal family interred in the royal vault, made up of British kings, royal wives, and children. Prince Philip, the Queen's husband, was interred in the vault on April 17, 2002. Now to our final question. Why was the Queen not buried in the royal vault? To understand this, let's dive a little deeper into Windsor town itself. Windsor is special for the British royal family, so special that it took the name of the town as its own in 1917, during World War I, when Britain was at war with Germany. Sensing the unpopularity of all things German, the royal family became the House of Windsor by a proclamation of King George V, replacing the historic name of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. Windsor was the place that the young Elizabeth spent much of her time during World War II. When she became queen, she routinely spent weekends at the castle, enjoying its expansive grounds where she could walk with her dogs or ride horses. Just a few hundred yards from the Queen's private apartments in Windsor lies St. George's Chapel, which began in 1475 by Edward IV and was completed by Henry VIII in 1528, and which now became her last resting place. Now back to our question. Even though we all saw the Queen's coffin being lowered into the royal vault, the vault was not her final resting place. Her coffin rested there temporarily for a few hours on Monday, September 19, before being relocated to its final resting place, the King George VI Memorial Chapel, which is also inside St. George's Chapel, so very near the royal vault. This final burial service was marked by a private family event on the evening of September 19. So, the Queen's final resting place was the King George VI Memorial Chapel, and she was buried there for the following reasons. The chapel was named after the Queen's father, King George VI, and built in 1969, next to the north choir aisle of the chapel. Prior to this, only 3 royals had been buried in the chapel. They are the Queen's parents and her sister, that's King George VI himself, the Queen Mother Queen Elizabeth I, and their daughter, Princess Margaret the Queen's sister. On Monday, September 19, when the Queen was laid to rest, Prince Philip's coffin was also moved from the royal vault to rest beside his wife's. So there you have it. Subscribe to this channel to learn more. Thanks.